everyone, so you're here in Literature 2 and this topic will be discussed with Group 11 and the teacher for the hour is, my name is Teacher Noemi and my co-partner is Teacher Mary. And for today's topic, we have literature, poetry, and drama. But for today's discussion or for today's lesson, we're going to focus only in poetry. And this is the table of contents that we're gonna show you on what will be the happen for this discussion. First, we have is as well as what I said, we're going to discuss first about poetry, and we're going to tackle about two literary pieces. We have is the word is Thomas with us, and the second is Harlem. So you should better take notes and listen carefully about the discussion. So for today we have poetry. So when it comes to your mind, we always hear poetry in this kinds of poetry in this kind of genre. But for today poetry is types of literature that invokes and concentrated to imaginative awareness of experience or a specific emotional response through language chosen and arranged for its meaning, such as sounds, rhythm. So, poetry also, it can be to convey thoughts of a person and to describe a scene, to describe a story, to tell us about the emotion that given to such as per lines. So, poetry has really been famous or been known, especially to this generation, because we really love when it comes to doing some or writing some poetry to express our own emotion when it comes to what happened in our society or in our environment. So before we discuss about the two literary pieces we have, we also need to discuss first the one who is the writer of that literary piece. His name is William Wordsworth. He is an English poet who is a lyrical ballads. When we say lyrical ballads, it is a imposed or a category of poetry that in composing or making or creating a many different kinds of subgenres, style, culture, and some eras of time. It also can be such as a song-like or a quality of an exploration of emotion and personal feelings of an individuals. And also, William had a chance to collaborate with his friend Samuel Taylor Coleridge that helped him to launch an English Romantic movement. But when we say English Romantic movement, it is a movement that's spanning through 1790 to 1850. That year was really known as, that year was famous about romanticism or romantic movement. And also, it also romantic movement. It also characterized or an celebration of a nature common man that focus on an individual experience or an idealization of a woman and embrace of isolation of melancholy. So William Wordsworth is also called as romantic poet because of his literary brilliance, depiction of emotion, personifying of human life with nature, and propagation of a way of living that pulled everyone back to nature. So from that word or from that sentence, it gives us a clue that most of her literary piece as known as discussing about what happened on her society or her environment around that time. So William Wordsworth is representation or representative of an ideal of a romantic movement. That was he became famous about regarding to his Romantic movement. And also, did you know that William Boltzmann regretted his life about read modern poetics such as language of Italian and Spanish. And also after he died, his wife, which is his name is Mary, published one of her literary pieces that called is the Prelude or Prelude. One of the famous work that William imposed in this word is the word is too much with us, which is a sonnet published in 1800s. When we say sonnet, it is a 14 line of a poem that has a variable rhyme and originally in Italy that brought us from Thailand by Sir Thomas Wine. So William is also known as central figures of an English Romantic movement, wherein most of her poem laments the weathering connection between humankind and nature, blaming the industrial society or replacing the connection with the material pursuit. So it means that most of her literary pieces are given or representative of what happened to our society or to our environment or with our nature that time. Also, William has a given big impact when it comes to poetry or when it comes to creating a poetry that gave us a rise in oceanic flow of a poetry. It identifies itself that when it comes to writing about nature, beauty, hidden life, and about natural things. So, it really means that most of her poetry or most of her literarities are imposing how our society or how our world or how our nature or what happened to our nature that time or until now, it given us impact on how we give us express our own emotion regarding to our nature most of the time. So this is William Wordsworth poems that became famous that time. It is so this is what most of her William literary piece, but we only focus about one of the literary piece that we're going to tackle about. It is the word is too much with us, and this we're going to discuss regarding what is the perspective of this poetry or what is the perspective or point of view of this literary piece. From the word is too much with us. So it already represent or it already describe about our nature or our environment. So this is her literary piece. We should read it carefully and feel the emotion. We should focus, read it carefully, okay? The word is too much with us. The word is too much with us, late and soon. Getting, spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature, that is ours, we have given our hearts away. A sordid moon, this sea that buries her bosom to the moon, the winds that will be howling at all hours, and are outgathered now like a sleeping flowers. For everything, we are out of tune. It move us not to create a great God. I rather be a pagan, suckled in a creed outward. So standing on this pleasantly, have a glimpse that would make me less forlorn. Have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his weathered horn. So the literary piece of the word is too much with us. It represents or imposes a modern age of having lost its connection to the nature, and everything has a meaningful. It also imposes a humankind or humanity if it is still out of the tune when it comes to nature. It also represent or impose how people are too attached to the tribal things of the world and not the awareness of in everything that when it comes to nature at whole. So this literary piece can serve as an eye opener when it comes to creating poetry. It serve as an you only not evolve when it comes to writing a poetry na the genre is only love, this individual having a crush on someone. You can also write a poetry when it comes to nature, how beautiful nature is, how nature can give us a disaster, how nature can be awesome, can be amazing when it comes to this, when it comes to this. So it's really having an expression when it comes to nature is really broad because we have a lot of natures that evolves in our environment. So we should also focus on creating also a good piece good piece that has a theme of nature.
So now that we are done with the first example of the literary piece in poetry and its poet writer, let's proceed now with the second one, which is all about Langston Hughes. So Langston Hughes was a central figure in the Harlem Renaissance. So when we say Harlem Renaissance, it is the cultural and intellectual movement of African American in literature, art, dance, and many more. So it is also considered as a unique period in American history in which African are able to share their talents, skills, and thoughts with the use of literary works they made. So also, writers, actors, celebrities are emerged during that period or during that Harlem Renaissance, wherein the flowering of black intellectual, literary, and artistic life that took place in the 1920s in a number of American cities, particularly in Harlem. So Harlem is a place near in a neighborhood of Manhattan, New York City. So Langston Hughes was also a major poet that also wrote novels, short stories, essays, and plays. So Langston Hughes, in short, is also considered as an important writer during Harlem Renaissance. So he is really a talented writer wherein many of his works were really idolized by many people. So he used Langston used American African rhythms in his poems, which are more focused in a city life. So he creates different literary pieces that surely captivates the interest of every reader. So they includes The Weary Blue in 1926, Not Without Laughter in 1930, and One Way Ticket in 1949. So Langston also wrote Harlem in 1951 as part of a book-length sequence, Montage of a Dream Deferred. It is inspired by blues and jazz music montage, which Hughes intended to be read as a single long poem, explores the lives and consciousness of the black community in Harlem and the continuous experience of racial injustice within this community. So, his poems are highly subjective, impassioned, and powerful since it portrays the resilience, dignity, struggles of the different people, especially the black community. So, Hughes uses poetry to convey the message of equality, racial justice, and democracy. So by that, he also portrays the real life experience of every black community and also what he felt during that time since there is inequality during that time wherein black people or black community have a least opportunity in different aspects of life. Now, let us understand and know the um, meaning behind the poem entitled Harlem by Langston Hughes. So, Harlem, which means a dream deferred, is a powerful poem in which he wrote it as a response on what he had felt as a black man navigating his career and personal life in a white dominated world. So, Langston knew that his ancestors waited many years and never did experience the true meaning of equality. And he also wondered whether he can experience it or not. So, even if he is a poet or popular poet in Harlem, it did not make up in the fact that the rest of the society would not acknowledge his works simply because of the color of his skin. So he wrote this um, poem in order to showcase that everyone, especially the black community, can have a better opportunity like other people. So, years later, Martin Luther King made his speech entitled I Have a Dream, which was likely inspired by this very poem. So, Hughes wrote this poem in 1951 and Martin Luther King gave his speech in 1963, 4 years before Hughes' death. So now let's read the poem entitled Harlem. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a racing in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like a rotten meat? Or crash and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? So now let's proceed with the summary of the poem entitled Harlem. So Harlem is a representative of hopelessness. So the poet narrates his disappointment of the deferred dreams. So the poem begins with a question as he compares the dream or goals with raisin, meat, and sweets. So the poet has used these analogies to evoke the image of a postponed dream. Each image enables the reader to feel what exactly has happened to the speaker's dreams and the impact left on his mind. So this description shows that his vision does not vanish so easily. Instead, it goes through a specific process before reaching the actual state of decay. So, delays, sadness, and dreams are the major themes of this poem. So, the poem speaks about the oppression of African Americans, which suggests that their goals always remain unapproachable and lose their meanings. So, the speaker feels the burden of these dreams, saying when the burden becomes unbreakable, it will explode. So, on a deeper level, the poet is talking about the people having a big ideas, but life never allows them to make their dreams reality. So, that's it. That's the meaning behind the poem entitled Harlem. So, I hope you understand our topic for today. And thank you for watching and listening. God bless.